So you have a busy life yourself, Stephen, don't you? Quite apart from adjudicating.
Yes. I think, though, just to pick you up on the point about adjudicating, I've had a very, very lucky break on this, if you like, because when I was at school, I had a very, very vibrant head of music. We were involved in shows, so I did acting, I did dance, I did singing. So the performing arts was a very, very strong part of my schooling. Then when I went on to A-levels, I did music. But during that time, I had lots of opportunities, because I was a brass player then. I had lots of opportunities with my brass band, and they actively encouraged me as not just as a player, but as an arranger, as a conductor, and a teacher of the younger ones coming up. So that was a really wonderful training ground. Alongside that, after I'd left school, I was part of a theatre company. So again, the performing arts kept moving through my sort of early years. Then before I went to university, I worked in a music shop, and that allowed me to develop the sort of skills to talk to customers. And part of being an adjudicator is that engagement with your audience, with your performers, with parents, with teachers. So I don't underestimate the value that working in sales actually gave me. And then through my university, it was a degree in music. I did a subsidiary in drama, but because I sort of had all of that experience in performing arts, that kept moving through. So in my first year, I did a musical, I was in one of the dance shows, I played in wind bands and brass bands, and I did piano. Well, I did brass, piano and voice. And then in my second year, I changed tack and I went first study piano. So sort of cutting a very long story short, because I sort of swapped and became a pianist, I was also able to do a lot of accompanying. So as well as having a lot of brass background, I then became an accompanist, which meant that I accompanied a lot of different instrumentalists. So my knowledge of repertoire for different instruments began to grow. One of my friends was a recorder teacher, so I learned a lot about recorder, a lot about the repertoire, and it's continued to move in that way. I then, because of my singing experience, I moved into choirs. So my first choir was a male voice choir. And with male voice choirs, a lot of whom don't read music, you learn to speak in a different way, and you learn how to connect and shape music through language which isn't necessarily musical, which again I think has helped me speak to those younger performers who perhaps haven't yet got that sort of dictionary behind them of terms to understand the musical terminology. So I'm able to relate at that level. And then I went into musical theatre. I conducted orchestras, both on the stage as an orchestral conductor and in the pit of a theatre. So you begin to sort of see how my early years from school in performing arts began to grow in performing arts. So as the chair of an organisation that is multidisciplinary, it's great for me because I'm equally comfortable with music, equally comfortable with speech and drama, equally comfortable with dance, and comfortable to support my colleagues through those disciplines. But I think the biggest thing for me is that as a performer, as a conductor, as a teacher, as a trainer, I've been really lucky to have an amazing breadth of experience, which ultimately you can bring to the festival, because as you say, you chop and change almost every day from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. So that, for me, it's been useful. And this kind of work informs my teaching. I teach singing, piano and brass now. So I'm very comfortable, for example, with all the rock and pop material that's out there, very comfortable with musical theatre. So that impacts on my knowledge here. So it's a really lovely world to be involved in, but I do go back to my early days at school. That's where my love of performing arts and the love of variety came through, which has supported me such a lot in this job.